Jeff, great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for taking time today. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Trying to get some dialogues going with some regional beer, wine, and spirits people, and this is the inaugural sit-down, so I really appreciate you taking time to do this with me.
Absolutely. Don't have to twist the arm very hard to have a beer,
Have a beer?
In the middle of the day, and talk shop.
Yeah, I cannot wait to hear about your business and learn a little bit more about it. Clearly, you're an icon in the region, and congratulations for the brand that you've created. It's very cool. I'm a frequent flyer in your establishment and enjoy it every time.
Yeah, we appreciate it. A lot of people working hard to try to make it all work, and it's sometimes easier said than done. But
Indeed.
I think we do an all right job.
You do a better than all right job, and it takes a good leader for a team to perform. So I always give credit at the top seat.
I appreciate it.
10 years, huh?
10 years.
Where did it start? How did it start?
I can't believe it. We were just joking the other day. Sometimes it feels like it's only been 2 years, and then there's other days where it feels like it's been 65 years. And depending on how the day is, I think we are feeling a little bit of both of those. But we started. The story of Resurgence started a million years ago. My brother and I were kind of both bitten by the beer bug, very young. And we definitely loved, it was the whole experience around beer, right? So it was, and I'll really remember, if you go way back, my mother's family's from South Buffalo, and there was a bar in the basement, and everybody would sit around the kitchen table upstairs, and it was the center of the world. Like, everybody was having a ball, they're laughing, and everybody's just really, really having a good time. And they would send my brother and I have a twin brother, down to the basement, and we would literally climb up each other's shoulders onto the bar and pull the pitcher of beer, and have the beer tray, that was in the center with the glasses right around it.
Yeah.
And so we were introduced to that, really, like the whole experience of it. It's not just like chugging as many beers as you can get down. It's 100%. Like, let's have a really good beer, let's enjoy each other's company, and that's what we've always been after. Having loved that experience, I got into the beer game, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, and I was working for a large craft supplier in the New York metro area, and that's where I met. Well, I was with Boston Beer Company, and it was great. I learned a ton there, and I still have a lot of good friends that were we would kind of hobnob with and bounce around. I actually met my wife there, so we'd go to all these really cool beer venues all over New York City in the boroughs. No, we would. So I sold to distributors.
Oh, very good.
And so we managed the wholesalers down there, which are some pretty big players, and we just loved being able to go to these different, unique beer experiences all throughout, the boroughs of New York. And I said, God, what if we brought this back to Buffalo? Maybe people in Buffalo would really resonate with a beer garden and beer being brought on site. And it turns out we were onto something.
Indeed. I used to go to your Niagara Street location a lot.
Yeah, so we moved back in 2012 and then sold our first beers at Niagara Street on 2014. It took us time to get financing, get lined up, build out the business plan, find someone that actually could not show me an Applebee's. Everybody kept showing me Applebee's. Like, guys, we're gonna have huge tanks, and I need space. And it's funny, those big, huge space now is all of our smaller tanks as we kind of gotten bigger and started to do things at a little bit more macro scale.
How do you see the industry now compared to back then when you were tip of the spear?
Yeah.
A lot of change, right?
It's changed, and it's changed very quickly. And so I think part of it was us just being naive and not knowing exactly what we were doing, and just diving in. And then I think it's just a matter of how fast the craft revolution pace has, just kind of like a snowball going downhill. It's just kind of taking on more steam. When we opened, it was a very different, you kind of have to go back in time and really think to what the scene looked like, because it's so different than now. There were no breweries that people went into. There was Pearl Street, which was a brew pub, and Flying Bison at the time was up on Ontario Street up in Black Rock, and you could go there and you get a growler fill, but you couldn't even have a pint. So there was no local brewery to go get a pint at. And so when you think of where we are to today, where we're going to have 65 breweries in the greater Buffalo area.
Wow, that's the count. I was going to ask you.
That's the count. And so just the popularity of what a craft brewery is, but what the experience it means to be at. I mean, when we opened, we had hot pretzels and bags of chips, and my mom in the back like cutting
now.
little pieces of cheese. And now we are really truly restaurateurs.
You have good food.
But we had to. The game changed, and like everybody kept upping the game a little bit, and the experience was continually being pushed of what expectations from the consumers were. And so as much as we're still very about the beer, and we are, and now our cider as well, we are also having to be full-on restaurateurs, and the food can't stink, or else that's just as equal as having a bad pint of beer.
Interesting. So with the 60-some locations in the Western New York region, do you feel the market is saturated, oversaturated, or is there still room for growth in this space as an entrepreneur?
It's a great question, and I try not to say it's saturated because I don't want to poo-poo on anybody's dream. Like we really want to do it as well, and I think it can be done. It's certainly a lot harder. There's just only so many mouths to drink beer, and
supply and demand.
Yeah, and there's only so many people that how many times we talk about this at the brewery at times, like how many times can we win the consumer to come to Buffalo or to Resurgence in a month? Like, is it once? Is it twice? Is it three? They're not coming 11 times a month.
Right.
As there's more and more opportunities and other companies in our space that are doing a really good job as well, it is getting a little, I think, tighter. But I do think that the guys that keep pushing the boundaries or do something uniquely different or really hit the nail on the head with that experience portion of it, I think we'll always have space to grow in the category.
Are you seeing anything from a macro scale like consolidation, private equity coming in, gobbling up the bigger establishments, either regionally, super regionally, the Northeast, or East Coast, or nationally, any of the above?
Yep. We're seeing it on all levels. So I think what was really interesting is you saw it from the big guys first, right? Your Budweiser started buying like your Blue Points and your Goose Islands and things of that nature. And then you started to see it from more of the regionals. And I think you've seen a ton of consolidation on the wholesale side, but also in some of the private equity getting in. And when private equity started getting in, that's when the industry really started to see some changes. And you had massive dollars going into the industry that wasn't necessarily being spent from passion. It was like, how can we turn this and burn this?
Return on investment.
and like, that's
ROI?
not why we got in business. We got in business because we want to make really, really good beer and provide something really unique to our consumer.
Yeah.
So I think that changed the industry a little bit, and I think that's kind of starting to shake out. As like they just haven't gotten the returns they wanted to, or they realize it's just too much work, and said I want to go in a different direction. But you're still seeing a lot of. I mean, we just brought on Blackbird Cider Works about a year ago.
Tell me about that.
And it was again one of those things where we weren't necessarily looking for Blackbird Cider Works, but we started having some conversations over there. We really liked the liquid they were making. We really liked what their brand stood for and the quality, and so we had. While it's a different liquid than beer that we make, the cornerstones of how they ran their company and what was important to them from a quality perspective, where I thought were very similar to what we offered, but it's also unique. It's not just a generic cider. Like there's reasons why they have done a really good job, and so we thought it'd be a really easy add-on to our portfolio, and
excellent.
It's been going really well, I have to say. So,
what was the acquisition process like? Easy.
Yeah,
nightmarish, somewhere in the middle.
It was my first
Painful.
one. Yeah, so you know a bit more about this than I do.
I've done one or two.
So we were kind of learning as we went here, and it was really one of those things where we kind of went after it and said, "Oh, this could be something cool."
Yeah.
And we talked to Scott and his team over there, and I think he was trying to figure out exactly what they wanted to do, because it wasn't like he just put it up for sale, and it was kind of going back and forth, conversations, feeling each other out, and I think we got to a point where we thought that it was this would be a good thing for both of us. He was going to get what he wanted out of it, and then we were going to be adding something that we thought there was a lot of value in. And so, we were able to figure it out, and then there were definitely some kinks and like working through the transition and all that kind of stuff as we were not only learning, to bring on a new business, and I'm sure you've seen this before in your walks of life, but it was a very different process. So, while we got into it and saying it can't be that much different than making beer, it's pretty significantly different than making beer. And so we had to kind of walk ourselves through those learning curves as we got up and going. It also wanted to keep scale and then come up with the whole new, where are we taking it? So
sure.
it was a lot of different things, but all of it's been very good, and
Congratulations.
we're excited about it. Yeah.
I'm a big, clearly passionate about growth through acquisition, and I think any business needs to grow organically, one customer at a time, one product at a time, one employee at a time.
Yep.
But growth through acquisition, like you've just experienced, the combination of the two is the secret sauce that really helps entrepreneurs get a foothold and really scale their business if that's their desire. So congratulations. I think it's really cool.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I can't take a lot of credit. I mean, we have a team of people from our director of operations all the way down that really did the heavy lifting of getting everything transitioned. And I mean, we took a whole factory and brought it into our factory, which was already a factory, and had to marry all of that and all the cultures. And so, I mean, I know I'm preaching the choir here, but yeah, it was something that I think was worthwhile. I think we were happy with how it went, and I think we'd be open for
another one, right?
Another one, yeah, for sure.
Most of the people I talk to, most of my clients, that it's their first, I tell them it's like potato chips. Once you have one, it's really hard not to have a second one. It's fun. It's kind of addictive. It's just very productive and very efficient as well at the same time.
Yeah,
congratulations.
We'll do it.
It's cool.
It's a good challenge, and I think the team's up for it. And we're looking forward to really stretching Blackbird Cider Works' legs this year as we start getting more of the meat and potatoes of like rebranding and stretching the product line and growing it into new markets. So
When did you close?
we closed. It would have been July of 23.
Okay, you had it a while then.
Yeah, so about a year and a half, and we have I think what we think is a really good opportunity. So when we first brought it on, a lot of it was just filling some easy low hanging fruit gaps. Like there was 3 seasonals, but they needed a 4th season, and so we just made one. And that was good.
There we go.
And so we took the really low-hanging fruit, and now I think we're getting a little bit more in depth on where we want to go, not only for Blackbird Cider Works, but also as, it's 10 years at Resurgence too, and some things are getting a little tired. And so we got to start, kind of refreshing that look too, and what it is to be, Resurgence in our local market here and then regionally around us as well.
I tell most of my clients in the first year, you usually don't want to move a lot of things around, right? What do I have? What can we do with this? How is the integration? What are the synergies? And after that first year, you can start playing with it, right? Moving the dials and playing with it. So I think, I know very little about it, but I think it's prudent to wait a bit and then see what you got. And then
Where were you 18 months ago?
It's working with Amanda.
No, I think we did learn a lot of those things, and I think we were wise
to.
We did, we do take advice from whoever will give it.
Right.
And I think it was smart to not do too much. And yeah, there you go. I know a guy that can help you out. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with that statement. And I think that that being said, we're antsy to grow it though too. So and kind of take it to the next stages of its life.
What does 5 years or 10 years from now look like for you?
It's a great question. So we got a lot of irons in the fire right now. So
if you can't talk about something clearly,
I'm not trying to
look under the hood.
Happy to talk about. No, so it's we moved into our current facility down Chicago Street, and then COVID hit right after that, and it took us a long time to kind of maneuver through COVID, but then kind of get back to where we were going. So, we were going into COVID, we had new locations lined up, and we had pushed towards more of a on-premise business, more so than just distribution. And then the world stopped, and building got very, very hard. And building's still hard, so we're just finally getting through some different projects that we've had in the hopper for a long time. Like they feel like
building
forever
is in
projects.
construction.
Yes, construction. Yeah. So we're opening a facility down in Florida. It was just there this weekend, which we're very excited about. In Fort Myers.
Fort Myers. Yeah.
Yep. So that's going to hopefully come on this summer. But we originally were going to open this in I think Q3 of 2022. So it's been a really long process to get here. So that'll be very nice to see that kind of come together finally, because it's kind of just been.
Good for you.
One of those things where people are like, you still working on that place down in Florida? I'm like, yeah, we are. Thank you.
It's harder than it looks.
So that's coming online. Steel's on site. Building permits are in. We're very excited about that. And then we're also opening another smaller facility up on Transit Road in Clarence.
Very good.
Which will be a cool little beer garden, almost more of a Niagara Street feel, but with a full kitchen, because we're very much in the kitchen world now.
Yeah.
And it turns out people like to eat when they drink.
Indeed, right?
So we had a couple different things going on there amongst probably opening up those Florida markets for distribution. So we have enough to keep our hands dirty for a little bit here in the next few years. And I think that we'll see the opportunities as they come from there, whether it be opening distribution channels or maybe some more brick and mortars.
Mm-hmm. What are the upcoming trends? Any prognostication, any forecast?
Yeah.
There's been a giant evolution, clearly, from the Miller Lite, Bud Light, Molson world of 20 years ago to almost infinite options when it comes to beer. What do you see it evolving into? What does your industry look like in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I think you're already seeing a lot of it, and I think that's what you're going to see more of. So I think
cool.
that you're not going to be just a beer company anymore. You're going to be a beverage company, and you're going to make all sorts of beverages.
Interesting.
And they, we are in the process of next year we're going to be releasing our first RTD made with vodka.
What's an RTD?
Ready to drink cocktail.
Thank you.
Think of like your high noons of the world, and so can we take that and do kind of what we did with craft with that, make it super high end, is there a niche in there somewhere we can fit from a local perspective using fun ingredients and things like that.
Because canned cocktails are huge in the trend and
huge, but then, weeds,
right?
It's a whole another beast that's really, popular. And you want to talk about disruptors, that's a really big disruptor for us. And so,
I bet.
I mean, it's crazy to think, 10, 15 years ago that anybody be popping gummies and but now like we have friends that are like, I'm going to do a gummy and I'll have 2 drinks if that's it. But that guy used to have 8 drinks. And so, that's going to disrupt a lot of the volume as people I think are still enjoying. They're just enjoying differently. But on the other token of that, NA beers have become really big. So non-alcoholic segments becoming really something that you can't ignore anymore.
Interesting.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if we start playing a little bit more in that. And so I think in the effort of staying relevant, we would say we can make 10 different things as long as that affords us to make the one thing I want to drink. And that's might be what we have to do as we are trying to meet up, with consumer demand and consumer preferences that are shifting exponentially faster than they ever used to. I mean, it's just crazy. So
super interesting. Any other acquisition targets?
Not at the moment, but we're certainly happy to have those conversations as they come.
And trying to fish. Just wondering if you had your eye on something else.
Not right now. Our focus has really gotten on getting these 2 buildings up and going, which has been a bit of a bear, to say the least, as we've kind of worked through rates, and now we're working through construction costs. And before that, it was having subs and anybody that can actually work. And then there was a hurricane, and so we had a million different things we're trying to get through, but. We are always looking because I do think that you're going to see more consolidation in the industry as some people either just age out of it and are saying, I don't want to do this anymore, or if they just want to go do something else with their lives, or that kind of cycle has just ended for them. So we will see.
I've had multiple clients come to me for acquisitions. Sure, there's a customer list and there's cash flows and things like this, but buying a team, buying a general manager, buying a front of the house, buying a back of the house, buying the team is a lot of the appeal these days with the workforce shortages or workforce preferences that we're experiencing as entrepreneurs. It's very interesting. How are you going to staff your Florida location? It's
something we've already been working on, and something we've really been focused on is just building the right culture and getting the right people that we think can build their own teams the right way.
Starts with culture.
Yeah, and culture is a huge thing, and it always has been a huge thing for us.
Good.
And there's a million different things going to a business, but if nobody wants to come to work every day because it's not a great place to be, and if you don't want to go there as the owner,
with that one.
That's a bad sign. I think bad start. So, and we've done really well, yes, but I think we've also had challenges throughout the years. It's not as easy as you think it's going to be to keep everybody happy and moving and swimming in the same direction.
It's an art.
So I can't imagine doing it. Our acquisition of Blackbird Cider Works was great, but it was not huge. It was just pretty small. We could bite it off, and I think it was a nice way to ease in. But I can't imagine if it came with a staff of 100 people.
Post-close integration is a very challenging but real aspect of any deal.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for now, we'll keep chugging away and see if we can't get these other locations up and going, and make sure that they are just what everybody wants to be. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Very, very cool. Sincere congratulations. Is there anything you wanted to talk about? We've hit everything that I sort of had prescribed with the team. If there's anything you want to talk about, this is good content as well. So,
no, I think we covered a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as what Resurgence is up to and where we're going, and we'll see. I think that it's going to be an interesting, 3 to 5 years in this industry. I think locally and regionally, and we're really everywhere. And I think you have to kind of pick your spots. And I think we're going to try to make that the most fun possible, if I can say. Like, we don't need to do a bullseye around Buffalo, and we can go wherever we want to go, because craft beer and craft everything is. It's so big now that like there's nowhere you can go where people aren't familiar. They just want it to be really good.
If somebody wanted to open up a craft beer business, would you say no, or rock on, brother? At this time, with 60-some competitors in Western Europe, is there still demand? I know I asked this question before, but it seems like a saturated market to me.
I get what you're saying, and I think people are still opening. I mean, we had 4 openings this year, 5 openings this year.
Will it succeed, right? Is it sustainable?
I think I don't know the answer to that, but I would lean more towards you, or I'd say, are you crazy? I think if you look at the headwinds in front of you, especially for somebody that has not had 10 years in the trenches, already building their brand and building that loyalty and solidifying them, to start fresh now in the environment we're on, I think is incredibly difficult, because there's so many players, but your consumer is also so promiscuous, and nobody really knows what like the youngest generation is doing here and what they're even going to eat or drink yet. Like it's just kind of. I was listening to a podcast earlier and like, I don't know. That's like great. Neither do we. But
guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I think that there are certainly challenges, and if somebody did come to me and say, "What were you thinking?" I'd say you might want to just wait a little bit and see what this looks like, because I think there might be a lot less players in a few years.
Right. Or wait. What I'm seeing, and I'd love your opinion on this, is a fair amount of distressed and closed entities, because the used market for equipment seems to be very saturated.
Yep.
And banks and federal and state agencies aren't granting monies for startups anymore, or at least there's a lot less of it. I know banks are very turned off with lending towards startup breweries, startup distilleries. Wineries, not so much of an opinion in the Northeast, but I know banks have really kind of, that industry's lost its shine. Yeah. Which is, and I'd love your opinion whether you're seeing the same or not, but that's many times an indicator of saturation, right? When you start getting the dissolutions or the dissolving of going concerns because of failure, not because of divestiture, that's a sign of saturation in the market.
Yeah, and we're seeing a ton of that. And so that's kind of the private equities that I was alluding to earlier. They got in, didn't go well, they got out. And now there's a ton of a ton of equipment sitting on the market at every size. You have just lots of massive equipment, lots of small equipment. And so you're absolutely spot on. And that's what we're seeing in the market. And the banks are super nervous. Their appetite is nil. For anything, really. And so I think it's a tough time to, even if you wanted to open a brewery, you
need to self-capitalize.
Or unless you want to self-capitalize and then buy all that cheap equipment, because there's a lot of it out there. But I think you have to have a really good market plan. And it's not just the appetite, for risk that you would certainly need, but the wholesalers, so the people and the retailers, so the people that we need to partner with to sell our products also don't have an appetite. They go, Jeff, I got 47 breweries. Yeah. I don't need another brewery. Good. Yeah. And they're not wrong, because every time they split that pie up a little bit more, it's their partners they've already partnered with are getting a little bit less focus.
100%.
And so, we actually say the same things to our wholesalers. Like, do you need the new shiny toy? Like, we're still shiny. And,
yes, we are.
And so, I think it's a challenging market for sure right now. And we'll see what that looks like as things change. But there's a lot of breweries. There's a lot of people making really good beer too. And so it's a little bit different than like in the 90s when we got, the late 90s and early 2000s, we got like a saturation point, and you kind of saw craft kind of take a dive for a couple of years there and come back up. But there was a lot of bad beer being made at that time. And so this time around, I think there's a lot of very good beer. I mean, don't worry, there's always bad beer you'll find here or there. But I think overall, you see a lot better quality that's coming out. So it's not even that they're not doing a good job. It's just you got to hit on every cylinder to do a good job in a market that's increasingly competitive, and your consumers are going to tell you immediately if you make a mistake. And Twitter will be lit up the second we release a beer that we should have released. And
well, that's quick market feedback. You're not going to produce a large CEs.
Yeah, CEs.
A lot of CEs in that particular brewery.
Oh yeah, we'll throw it in the tap room on draft, and we will know within 3 hours if it's a winner or not. Trust me. And then no one's shy about letting us know, which is why there's the beauty of the tap room. So.
Well, this Pivo is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
You've been talking a lot, not drinking. You should take a sip because it's an incredible beer.
Okay.
Jeff, thank you for your time.
Cheers.
Great to chat with you.
Yeah, nice chatting.